Well, it is a rather windy day here on Utah Beach. This is the place where on June 6th of 1944, men of the 4th Infantry Division landed on the far right flank of the Allied invasion of Normandy. Now, if you look at the beach today, it's perfectly clear. On D-Day, well, you would have seen all kinds of obstacles covering this beach. And somebody had to clear a path for the 4th Infantry and the follow-up units to get onto the beach and inland. And that fell to the Army Engineers and the Naval Combat Demolition Unit. So who were the men of the Naval Combat Demolition Units, or the NCDUs? Well, these were guys who, in large part, had been Seabees, who were trained alongside scouts and raiders at Fort Pierce, Florida, under the command of a man named Lieutenant Commander Draper Kaufman. Kaufman is the guy who really kind of developed the forerunner to Hell Week that the Navy SEALs go through in BUDS. The Naval Combat Demolition Unit, along with the UDT, Underwater Demolition Team, was the forerunner of the U.S. Navy SEALs. And like I said, their job on D-Day was to come in on the first wave and blow up the obstacles along these beaches to make way for the men behind them. We're going to go inland a little bit, get out of this wind, and talk a little bit about what the NCDUs did. Before I move inland off of the beach, I want to show something real quick. I was walking along. We are at low tide, so you can see just how wide the beach is, side note, and I happened to come across this sticking out of the water. It's a metal frame of something, and I think that I know what it is, but I don't want to look dumber than I already am, so I'm not going to say what I think it is, but I do think that it is something from World War II. That is really cool. All right, we've moved in off the beach where the wind is not quite as brutal, and right here in front of the Utah Beach Museum, they have some good examples of some of the obstacles that would have been on the beach on D-Day. Now, these in particular were called Czech hedgehogs. All of these things are primarily designed to keep armor off of the beach and vehicles, and the engineers and the NCDUs were tasked with blowing these things up and opening gaps in the beaches. So these men were all divided into what were called gap teams. Gap team would have 7 NCDUs and 5 Army combat engineers, and they would be working together to blow these obstacles up. So what they would do is they would have what was called a satchel charge, and it was just plastic explosives in a 20 or 40 pound bag. It was flexible, and then they would go and they would wrap it around these obstacles. So there would be a cord that was attached to it that would attach to hooks on the bag, and then they would string all of these together with primacord and then detonate it so that it blew up all of these obstacles simultaneously. Now, one of the big problems, well, there's a couple of problems that these guys faced. One is they're in the first wave, and they were definitely targeted by the German defenders on these beaches. Another big problem that they had is that the subsequent waves of soldiers who are coming in, well, everybody is shooting at them. There's no cover on the beach except for these obstacles. But these men from these Naval Combat Demolition Units and U.S. Army engineers, well, they have a job to do. They have to blow it up, but obviously you don't want to blow it up with some of your men right by it. So they would throw a red smoke grenade to let people know, hey, get out of here, because you're about ready to get blown out of here. I've moved up here to a high point that overlooks Utah Beach, and there are several memorials up here, and we've shown some of them before on prior episodes of History Traveler and American Artifact. This one in particular I don't think we've shown, though. You can see that it reads, in honor of the first combatants of Operation Neptune on Utah Beach, 6/6/1944, including Angelos Shatis, a U.S. Naval Combat Demolition Unit frogman. 6 sailors gave their lives and 11 were wounded in support of clearing beach obstacles for the U.S. Army in the 4th Infantry Division. And like I said earlier, the Naval Combat Demolition Units were one of the forerunners of the present-day Navy SEALs. And here you can see this SEAL trident in the upper right-hand corner. All right, so we've been talking a little bit about the U.S. Naval Combat Demolition Units that landed here at Utah Beach. And I feel like it would only be appropriate, with these guys being kind of like the grandfathers of the SEAL teams, seems only appropriate that I would have a U.S. Navy SEAL with me. This is Leif Babin from Echelon Front. We've been walking the ground here the past couple days, so we're going to talk a little bit about the Naval Combat Demolition Units here at Utah Beach.
It's humbling to be here in the presence of such history from incredible people like the Naval Combat Demolition Units that stormed these beaches here, and the first guys on the beach blowing up obstacles, putting themselves at risk, and giving their lives, as many did, like Penthouse First Class, Angelos Shatis here, so that others could storm the beaches here and actually make their way, and they could clear a path for others to follow behind them. I think that to me is what's most humbling, to just think about their courage, their tenacity, their all that they went through to be able to hit these beaches, sacrifice themselves so that others could follow in their path and continue the fight, on to Berlin. Really just humbling and honored to be here, and just really in awe of our frogman forefathers and the proud legacy and heritage that they gave us, that's carried on into the SEAL teams of this day, and that's something that I hope that no generation ever forgets, is what these men did here, all that they gave, all that they sacrificed, and that we continue to honor their heritage.
One quick little side note. A long time ago, I was reading a book about D-Day, and there was a veteran account in there where the soldier talked about coming ashore on the beach, and him and another guy, to avoid machine gun fire, dodged down behind this obstacle, and then looked around and realized that they had ducked down behind a rubber boat. And I remembered having the thought, what was a rubber boat doing on the beaches of Normandy? I thought they were all like Higgins boats. Well, a little bit ago, I heard another veteran interview, a guy who was with the Naval Combat Demolition Units, and in it he said that as they were coming ashore in their Higgins boats, they were actually pulling rubber boats behind them that had extra demolition charges that they couldn't carry with them on their person. So anyway, it was kind of a cool little connection, or a little missing piece of the puzzle for me that I thought I would share. We're going to go ahead and leave Utah Beach now. We're going to move inland with the 4th Infantry Division and go to the D-Day experience, which has a new exhibit for the Naval Combat Demolition Unit that landed here on Utah Beach. It hasn't been unveiled to the public yet, but they're going to give us a little bit of a sneak peek. All right, we just got into the museum here, and we've actually been to the D-Day experience a couple of times. I'll put the links to the videos in the description, but absolutely incredible museum, one of the must-sees in Normandy. And I'm really excited to see this new exhibit that they have on the Naval Combat Demolition Units. All right, we just got into the exhibit here, and at the time that we're here, this is still a work in progress. They're still putting it together, and it is just so incredible seeing all of the artifacts. We're going to take a look at a few things while we're here, but to see the rest of it, you need to come and see it yourself. All right, so here is their display for the Naval Combat Demolition Unit, and as with everything in this museum, the artifacts are absolutely incredible. And one thing that is exceptionally cool is how they integrate photos into their displays so that you can attach a name and a face with the artifact.
Just if you're carrying explosives on you, right, and you're getting shot at and you got explosions going on around you, usually what you have is a larger explosive like these guys are carrying here, and you've got a blasting cap that has to be capped in. So a lot of times our breachers aren't going to carry like the explosive charge with the blasting cap capped in, but you got the blasting cap is very volatile, right? So if that thing gets hit with a round or shrapnel and that thing ignites, right, it can ignite your explosives that you're carrying. So not only are these guys the first guys on the beach with no cover, they're out there getting shot at with all German guns trained on them, trying to blow up obstacles, but they're carrying explosive charges and something super volatile like these blasting caps that they're actually taking with them. So if you do get hit or even take frag, like you could detonate the explosives that you're carrying on you. So it's a particularly hazardous situation. And then if you're detonating metal obstacles, I can only imagine that you would have to take cover so that you're not taking shrapnel. So not only are you getting shot at, but you're actually the detonation itself could throw shrapnel at you. And sometimes for like our demo weeks, you might have shrapnel that travels 500 yards, or 1,000 yards away from a huge explosion. So I think, just the hazard that these guys were taking as they hit the beach is just unbelievable. And someone had to do it, and they knew that if they didn't clear the way, that nobody was going to be able to land on the beaches behind them. So just incredible courage and tenacity that must have taken from them. That's really, really insane.
Here's another incredible display. Here we're looking at the helmet and helmet liner of Charles Potter, and you can see all of his gear, binoculars. There's his 1911, and then also you have these restricted maps or top secret maps from Utah Beach. Charles Potter was also the recipient of the Navy Cross, so you can look him up and read his citation. Okay, now this one is cool as heck. Here you see this U.S. Navy helmet. You can see the markings on it. Well, it matches up exactly with this guy right here. This is Alfred Radke. Here's the helmet liner, and something that's really neat about the helmet liner, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but Alfred kept kind of a little combat chronicle of his time in the service on his helmet liner. Now that's kind of hard to read, so they've showed us a little bit here. It says landed in France on June 6, 1944 on D-Day at H+300, so H hour was 6:30. Returned on LST 54 on July 5th, 1944. Okay, so again, how interesting to have his record on his helmet. And then he also kept a journal. That is so stinking cool.
Standing here in front of some Bangalore torpedoes, and these are some of the explosives that the Naval Combat Demolition Units use to clear obstacles off the beaches. And these were used by the Army as well. It's an incredible tool, and we still use them in the SEAL teams. We still detonate these things. You can use them to clear minefields. You can use them to clear concertina wire. But what a simple design. You can just piece these things together with these pieces here. You put the nose cone, and so you can shove it through sand and dirt, and it's something that you can then take cover, detonate it, and clear the way forward. And these were a pivotal, this was a critical piece of gear that were pivotal in the battle here on D-Day, so that they could clear the beach obstacles, clear concertina wire, clear minefields, and get troops off the beach. And they're still in use today by the modern SEAL teams. We still practice to use these things, and it's just amazing that such a piece of gear was so effective that it continues to be used even 80 years after in totally different scenarios.